طيب, one final call before we get started. If you guys can hear me well, and say something, give me a signal. Okay, nice. Okay, very well. Okay. Okay, so today, inshallah, we're hopefully finishing off Tom's Midnight Garden. We'll go over, what we've been saying about it, and it's a lovely novel, obviously, very engaging indeed. So we're going to kind of revisit some of the issues, and we're going to also introduce you to some of the things that you can take so that you can sum up the whole idea. Our point of departure is going to be children's literature and Tom's Midnight Garden, but the techniques that we're going to use, I mean, summing up ideas, listening to podcasts about the material would also apply to other courses and to other novels and picture books. So how much do we still remember about Tom's Midnight Garden? A lot, obviously, right? This is our last leg on this very interesting journey. This journey has taken us to, heights and places we couldn't have possibly gone to, given the fact that the novels that we're introduced to, or that we were earlier introduced to, were rooted in reality. They are bound by the conventions of time and place and all those kinds of things. With children's literature, obviously, I mean, we give ourselves freely to those flights of the imagination where time and space and their logic and their laws do not hold. So this is what we have seen with the different books and the different novels that we have taken, except for the other side of truth, which is quite rooted in reality, drab as it is, dismal as it is. Other than that, uh, the other stories, whether they are anthropomorphic in nature, whether they, kind of engage us and take us to past time periods, for example, they are kind of refreshing and invigorating, to say the least. So it's Tom's Midnight Garden that we're doing, and it's Tom's Midnight Garden that you'll be tested on or against in the upcoming second quiz and also in the final exam. So Tom's Midnight Garden is obviously all about flights of the imagination, fancy, and the power of the imagination, like we said the other day and also earlier. Again, if you still remember, we said that you cannot really read and consequently appreciate a piece of work unless you kind of contextualize it. You set it against the context, against the place and the time in which it was written. And when we talk about Tom's Midnight Garden, we talk about post-war England, and of course by war I mean the Second World War, where, like I said, uh, um, Britain emerged victorious in the war, but obviously not without uh, having those scars and destructions. And again, I said that it wasn't a total victory if you look at the infrastructure of Britain after or following the Second World War. So it was only natural that people were kind of waiting for the government to kind of change their lives for the better, rebuilding and reconstructing and offering and providing jobs and better living conditions. And when they saw this not happening, they got disillusioned and alienated, and they started to express their frustration and anger in different ways. Depending, of course, on who they are and what they can do. If you're a writer, so you can express this kind of anger, this kind of frustration through writing, and this is exactly what our writer did. She wrote Tom's Midnight Garden, where obviously Tom is a representation of people who came after the war, and those who felt, like I said, frustrated and alienated. And the novel is about just that, about, voicing out this kind of alienation and this kind of frustration. And obviously, through um, the novel, through a novel that take us all the way to the Victorian age. So obviously, when you go all the way back to a past period or you move forward to a future period, you're not happy with the status quo. So you're trying to kind of fly away from the here and the now, and this is exactly what the novel is doing. Tom, the representations of post-war generations, is uh, prompted to go all the way to the Victorian age, and obviously the comparison is always in favor of the Victorian age with its values. Remember, this was the time of the British Empire. People were relatively better in terms of living conditions. They have secure jobs. They have plenty and they have wealth and everything in between. And of course, in terms of values. So there is always going to be this kind of comparison between uh, Britain after the Second World War and Victorian England in favor of the latter, like I said. Um, Again, to highlight the frustrations and the anger that people felt, you have the novel and its different representatives, and one of them happens to be, of course, Tom, or perhaps on top of them, you also have Hattie as a main character. And through the kind of interplay between them, through their um, connections, we get to know more about them both. And we see who is influencing whom and how much. Again, one very important point, and perhaps it's a point of hope, and that's, I mean, which tells us that the novel does not end on a note of pessimism and hopelessness, was the fact that Tom is not going to stay in the past. And Hattie has, at one point, has to go away so that he can come back to his senses and realizes that he has to live in reality. He has to grapple with and navigate the issues that he has. So the novel turns into a novel of education, where the Tom that we meet at the beginning is totally different from the Tom that we meet at the end. Of course, the new version of Tom is a version of a mature individual, somebody who is now knowledgeable about the ways of the world, somebody who does not anymore question and challenge the linearity of life. He now realizes that life is linear, and we're moving, the trajectory is moving, is progressive and moving forward, and there is no way that people can go back. We don't obviously have even control Z in life, if you like. where what is done cannot be undone, like we say. So these are lessons and takeaways that Tom himself gets at the end of the novel. Again, he is now mature beyond his age. I mean, he's still young, of course, but the level of maturity that we're talking about is not that he grew up physically. No, he remains the same in terms of age, but his mind is now bigger and more open than ever. So this is the trajectory that the novel is taking. Again, when we talk about Tom's Midnight Garden, we talk about techniques that we don't normally use in normal realistic novels. Like we said, there is a great deal of realism or magic realism, if you like, where you have to suspend your disbelief. You need to stop asking yourself what this, I mean, this question of realism does not hold here. And if you insist on kind of dismissing whatever happens as, kind of, uh, figments of the writer's imagination, things that do not happen in life, you wouldn't appreciate the messages that the writer is trying to get you as a reader. So this is what the whole work is about. Again, let me show you something, and I'm not sharing, obviously. Let me share what I have. So this is a mind map that sums up the whole. I'm not sure if you can see. Can you guys see this?
Yes, we can.
Yes, doctor.
Oh, okay. Again, when you look at this is a mind map. I mean, of course, we all have our mental mind maps, but it wouldn't harm or hurt anyone to have it, kind of visualized in front of our eyes, and it wouldn't harm if we do it ourselves, even though now we have tools that can do it for us. I mean, using, of course, AI, and you can always generate mind maps for whatever work you're doing or whatever novel or so what I normally do is that I don't remember the name of the site that I'm using. I think I have shared it with you at one point. It's called, let me see, it's notebook, uh, what? But I want the whole thing to crumble and I don't get it one more. Yeah, it's called, yeah, this is the one. Notebook LM. Are you familiar with this? Mm,
Yes, doctor.
okay, you're familiar with it. So what does it do? You normally, if you have like a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, a Word file, a PDF file, or even a video, you can always put it there, and it can sum up the whole idea, and it can produce questions. You can even engage in discussions with the application itself about what you have incorporated or introduced, and you can even have a video summed up for you. And you can also have a podcast, like I have given you a number of times before. This is an excellent way of preparing for exams, using AI and using it very smartly, where you're what you're doing is that you have input. You give it to the site and it sums up the whole idea in a very comprehensive way. I promise you this. It's not superficial, it's very deep and very profound. And this can be a very beautiful way of preparing for exams and even beyond. Even if you are in a workplace and you have to sum up something, you have to know more about something. All you need to do, like I said, it is to kind of add the file or the audio or the video, and it can do everything. Video it doesn't deal with audios, and it can produce everything. And this is exactly what I did. And with Tom's Midnight Garden, depending on one of the videos that I did before. It was actually a class. I don't know whether it was this semester or before. And this is what I got. What I got is the following. First of all, I have different types of summaries. I have a study guide. I have mind maps, like I told you, and I even have a podcast. Um, you let me share. Let me adjust the setting for the sound so that you can hear. We're not going to, of course, listen to all of it, but I'm just giving you like a taste of what you can have and you can enjoy. Let me adjust the sound and see whether you will hear that or not. Yeah.
Hi there. You're ready for a closer look at something pretty special and, well, that's exactly what we're here for today. Welcome to this deep dive. We're digging into Philippa Pierce's classic children's book, Tom's Midnight Garden.
A real enduring one.
Totally. And we've got some interesting stuff to work with. Bits from a classroom chat,
Yeah.
Reactions from listeners like you bouncing off a YouTube video about the novel.
Yeah, so we're sort of distilling that, taking those first impressions, the
As I said, I'm now, and it would be a waste of time if we kind of listen to it together. I'll give you the link. I'll give you I've already given you the details, and I would like you to do this. And like I said, it can be this course and the other courses. All you need to do is to take the video of the teacher and put it there, and it can sum up the whole idea for you. It gives you notes, it gives you study guides, and it can also produce a podcast that is normally very informative and very engaging as well. Um, this is as far as this tool is concerned, and I'm hopeful that you can go through it, do it, and then come back to me and tell me that we have tried, not now, of course, and come back to me and tell me that we have tried it and give me your feedback, whether you think it's good, it's not. Yeah, and we need to perhaps talk about it. And I listen to your feedback on Thursday during the master class. So make sure that you take one of my videos, for example, you put it there, you come up with a podcast, you listen to the podcast and start assessing and evaluating it. Okay. So this is as far as this part. So before I forget, one of the amazing things about this tool is that it can scan the video and, of course, produce a podcast out of it, and it can also um, ask a number of questions and set out to answer them. I tried it with Tom's Midnight Garden, and it's amazing. It prints in questions that you may not even think of. That can be In the past, we used to have this buddy kind of thing where sometimes you approach a person and say, why don't we study together? Why don't we ask each other questions? Why don't we meet and talk about this or that subject or topic, and you ask me questions and I ask you questions. So you can consider this tool as a study buddy. You can ask it questions and it can answer you. It can ask you questions and you try to answer them before you look at the answers. It's amazing, and it can help you, assimilate and process whatever material you have. Um, so let me perhaps introduce you to the questions of Tom Smith Night Garden, and let's try to kind of unpack the answers on our own. I mean, if it can create questions, we need to know how to answer them, and answering them would, of course, depend on how much you have gone with the book, whether you have read it or you are halfway through, uh, or yeah, I mean, at least listening to the classes and to to the sessions of or on Tom's Midnight Garden can also help greatly. Let's see the questions and let's keep an open mind, and I'm ready to listen to what you have to say in terms of answers. And please don't deny yourself this. Come to the mic and share what you know, share your answer with me. Let me see if we have questions would go under um, study guide. Yeah, let me see how I can make it big. This is not what I wanted. This is summing up the idea. I want the frequently asked questions part. Yeah, this is the part that I am talking about. All you need to do is to kind of click it, and then you have the questions. So these are the questions, and of course, there are answers for them. You don't have that the answers are not binding, which means that don't have to memorize them and then spell them out in the exam. You can have your own answer based on how much you know and how much background you have that you can bring to the question and everything. So the first question would be, what are the main themes explored in Tom's Midnight Garden? And this is a very generic question. So we're talking about the main themes, and I would like to check with you. So what do you think? What are the main themes in Tom's Midnight Garden? It's a very generic question, and we've been talking about Tom's Midnight Garden for quite some time, so I don't think you have a problem with that. Come to the mic and share. We're not taxing, we're not judging. Come to the mic. Yeah, yeah, Munira, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, have the theme for loneliness and time slipping away. Then
Mm-hmm.
there is a theme for the memory and the theme for
Okay.
death, the consciousness and the growing up.
Yeah. Maturity, I mean, being mature or perhaps I mean, obviously, maturity is like a culmination of stages that you have to go through before. Like, maturity would entail that you were not mature at one point, and exactly what happened with Tom. At one point, he was, kind of um, unaccepting of conditions when they separated him from his brother for good reasons. Obviously, his brother
Yes,
contracted measles, and they wanted to kind of they
measles.
didn't want him, but he didn't accept that. They have to take him to the countryside where his uncle and aunt live, and he wasn't happy. He felt he didn't feel at home at all. Over time and through the magical garden, he will rethink and reconsider his stances so that when we meet him at the end, he is a totally
It's very different.
developed. Yes, yeah, he's very different. Yes, yeah. Thank you, Munira. Yeah, Hind, go ahead.
Hear me?
Hind, I'm not.
Hello, can
Yeah,
you hear me?
yeah, we can hear
Oh,
you now.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm just tamam. I was just making sure. Um, the theme of imagination
Hmm.
versus reality,
Okay.
where where um where the story um let's say blurs the line between what is real and what is an imagination.
Hmm.
Because the garden, the midnight garden, could be interpreted as a like a magical realm,
Okay.
and um, it is how do I say it? Um, like the ambiguity
Mm.
like allows the readers like ourselves to reflect on how imagination shapes our understanding of the world,
Okay.
if that makes sense. And
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. True. Yes.
and
Um,
I think my fellow students are my fellow classmates, I mean, already mentioned the themes of childhood and maturity and the memory in the
yeah.
past as well, I believe.
Yeah. Memory. There is a great deal about memory, and this is obviously what Hattie introduces. It's the
Have
memory
any
material that she provides is that is what the novel is all about. Remember what I said last time? If we don't have Hattie and if we don't have her childhood memories, we wouldn't have a novel, right? And that's why she's competing
Mhm.
with Tom over uh, um, who is really the hero or the protagonist or the main character. Of course, Tom is
have it
getting his name to the title, but again, this is up for grabs, and there is a great deal of debate over just that. Yeah, go ahead, Yahid. Yeah, you were saying something.
yes, what did anyone mention the what is it, like the loneliness and companionship
Yes, yes,
kind of thing?
Munira did. Yeah, Munira did. Yes, yes.
I see.
Okay, thank
um
you. Yeah, go
Honestly,
ahead.
I'm still like writing some thoughts down, but that's what
Nice.
I have for now.
Yeah,
Like just like the general idea.
that's more than enough. Thank you so much. Can we
You're
have
welcome.
somebody else? Again, we're talking about the theme or themes in the novel or of the novel.
Can I?
Doctor.
Yeah, go ahead. What's your name?
Mariam.
Mariam.
Um, One of the important theme is fantasy and magic, like Magical Garden. It's the
Mm.
setting of the novel.
Yeah, this is a key theme, like Mariam is saying. It's fancy, and fancy is another fancy word for the word imagination. They we use them interchangeably, of course. Yes. Again, I'm stressing the fact that there is obviously nothing wrong with um, the imagination and fancy. What is perhaps wrong and what is perhaps not happening in the novel is that Tom is not going to stay in the imagination or in the world of fancy forever, right? He will at one point come back to his senses, and at one point he will have to grapple with reality. He has to grapple with the linearity of life. That this is very important. Yeah. Thank you, Mariam. What else? What are some of the
I
no,
think
no, let's focus
the
on the
magic and
themes. Yes, sir.
fantasy.
Yeah, yes.
I think the magic and the fantasy in the
Yeah,
magical
we're
garden
using
and his
yeah,
make him yeah, ready for the real world when
yeah,
they come back to
that's good.
the end.
Yeah, absolutely. We said
Make
that
me make him ready.
sometimes it's like reading a romance, for example. It's like reading um, I mean, a piece of work, a novel that is soaked in the imagination. Okay, so what happens is that you read the novel, you go with the characters, you live with them, but once the book is over, you go back to reality and you handle life situations. So it's a temporary diversion, something that you need so that you can recharge your batteries, so that you can come back to reality and face up to the challenges ahead. So there is obviously nothing wrong. There is obviously nothing escapist about reading a book that is soaked and steeped in fantasy. What is perhaps wrong is that you stay with those kinds of books forever and they make you out of sync with reality, out of touch with reality. This is what is wrong, and this is what obviously the writer is not advocating. What the writer is advocating is perhaps looking back into your past, the past of your country, for example, get inspired by it, but come back to reality and let those past moments shape your perspective and shift it so that you can help yourself and the world in the present moment. Again, this is exactly what is happening with Tom's Midnight God. Yeah. Any more themes or ideas? Okay. Uh, so how does the novel utilizes the concept of time? How does the novel utilizes the concept of time? What kind of time do we have, or what types and kinds of time? Do we have one single kind of time, the time that we're trained to live accordingly, this linear time, past, present, future, or is there another type of time? Tell me about it. Mm. I started with a yes no question. Do we have one single type of time?
No, doctor.
Yeah,
I
okay,
think
time. I think we have room for everyone. Let's start with Joyce and then move on to other people. No problem. So, so the answer to my question, my yes no question, Joyce, is what? Is it one
Yes,
single kind
no,
of
no, no. There's more
time?
than one. We have two
Oh,
types of
okay.
time.
Elaborate. Yeah, expand on the idea. Go ahead.
There are two kinds of time. One is called chronos, which measures like the regular linear time that normally represents the adult time. It's the basically the same kind of time related, like it's moving forward in one direction only.
I mean, this is the
Uh,
realistic kind of time that
yes,
we live through as human beings
yes, the
with
logical one.
yeah, yeah, very good. Mm.
Yeah. And we have another one, which is the Kairos one, which focuses more on the emotional and imaginative time. It doesn't follow like a linear
Trajectory.
like timeline. Yeah, exactly. It goes back and forth. Exactly what this is exemplified in the novel, just like the time in the garden. Every time Tom goes to the garden, it's a different time period. Sometimes, like Hattie changes throughout this, and the seasons change as well. So it's based on feelings and memories and personal growth more than just logic.
And obviously, being aware of this non-linear kind of time would inform your experience with linearity and the trajectory that realistic life takes and everything, right? So it's not there just for the fun of it. It's meant, unless you have this non-linear kind of time, the idea of going back to the past wouldn't have been possible, right? And why would you go to the past? Again, it's a time period that you live up to, you get inspired with its values, right? So that when you go back to reality, you have you have your energies, like I said, refreshed. You're able to kind of grapple with whatever and navigate life in the modern times, and of course, with its drab reality, the ills and evils and everything in between. Okay, that's interesting. Somebody wanted to say something about time. Somebody else. I said that we're taking choice, and perhaps somebody afterwards. So, would somebody like to talk about time? Of course, there is more to this kind of question than just what Joyce and I said. There is a great deal of illustrations that you have to give, a great deal of backing that you have to provide for your answer. Um, so let's move on. How are family and relationships portrayed in the story? How are family and relationships portrayed in the story? Munira, go ahead.
Yes, at the first beginning, showing the authority for the adults, they are putting order upon the
Mm,
children, just like her
mm,
mother when she pushed him at the first beginning to go
mm,
to the place for his aunt. Then the
mm,
way how the aunt and the uncle straightened to go should be go to the bed
mm,
for 8 hours. You need to
mm,
sleep and leave him
mm,
in the nursery room with
mm.
bar in the window, not understanding the child needs and
Mm.
putting books for the girls for Tom as a
Okay.
boy.
Yeah. This is an aspect when it comes to family and relationships in the novel. So of course we have a family. Of course we have a traditional family in terms of the dynamics. The young generation has to obey the old generation. The young generation is presented always as being immature. Things are recommended to them. They are taken for granted. They are never consulted. Their ideas are thought very little of, and this is very clear.
Using the
And
didactic way.
yeah, the old generation assumes the moral high ground always, giving directions, giving advice. And this is very clear in the clash that we have between Tom and his uncle. Remember when they talked about time, when they talked about the imagination. Of course, the old generation would think very little. The old generation would think very little of the idea of the imagination, right? The young generation,
Also,
like
the
Tom,
uncle did not understand the question, the curiosity for
yes,
Tom. By
Yeah,
the way, he
again,
gets
it's
angry
this
and shout.
generation gap that we have always and everywhere, where the old does not trust the young, and the young are perceived as rebellious, as lacking in responsibility, and all those kinds of things. Again, over time, it's not that the old generation is going to be more accepting and more approving of the young generation. The young generation, hardened by life experiences, will come closer to the old generation, which is sometimes very unfortunate, because we would like to have compromises from both sides, not one single side trying to come closer and the other is strict and fixed in its position. And this is what we call maturity, by the way. This is what we call, experience. Perhaps our concept and perception of experience is a little bit, well, I mean, it needs reconsidering, obviously. So again, we're talking about those family dynamics that we're having in novel. We're talking about those engagements in discussions where obviously the gap is big between the young generation, as represented by Tom, and the old generation. When I talk about connections, of course, I shouldn't kind of overlook the relationship between Tom and Hattie, and how Tom learned a great deal from Hattie. Again, she was just a playmate, but she made all the difference. Again, her memories, the traumatic experiences that she went through, made it possible for Tom to learn a lesson and two, so that when he comes back to reality, he relies on those revelations and those insights, and he becomes different. Yeah, this is about connections and relationships and family and everything in between. So, what is the significance of the Victorian era setting for Hattie's time? We're talking basically about the Victorian age and the significance of the age and why we're having the Victorian age in the first place in the novel, in a novel that was written in the 50s. Why go back to the past, and why go back to the Victorian age, especially? Mm, mm. Again, we're talking about the Victorian age. Why do we have the Victorian age? What is its significance, and what role does it play in the novel? Yeah, Hind, go ahead.
Doctor, can you hear me again? I
Yeah, I
tried to
can hear you.
adjust something. Like, that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, we can hear you
Um,
very well.
well, I'm not 100% sure of my like the way I'm going to put this in a well articulated manner, let's say, but I will try my best.
I don't want you, listen.
Yes.
I don't want you to use, this is what we call hedges. Hedges is when you start your answer with by being very apologetic, by having those big disclaimers. I think, I believe, I don't think I will. Are you getting me? So you don't have to use this.
Yes.
This is literature, and literature is, I mean, interpretation is open and is up for grabs. So you don't have to worry about that. This is not chemistry or physics. Speak your mind and don't have those reservations. Yalla.
I'm aware, but
Mm,
it's better to at least to make sure that everybody understands it,
Yeah,
or at
everybody
least for
will
myself first.
eventually. No hedges
Um,
anymore. Don't use hedges. Yeah,
sure,
go ahead.
I will try. Um,
Okay.
so regarding Hattie specifically, I wanted to say something before you shift to the other question. Something
Mm,
about Hattie that
mm,
um, that she like finds true connection not through her blood relatives because she was orphaned at a young age, but
mm.
rather through her friendship with Tom
Yeah.
and later her adopted family marriage. And regarding the question you just asked regarding the Victorian era, um, uh, um, it's also about Hattie's life. I feel like it reflects Victorian social structures because she's an orphan living with wealthier relatives who like treat her as an inferior figure,
Okay.
and um, this created emotional isolation in her, um, which was also mirroring Tom's like own loneliness,
Yeah.
or in this
So, and that,
sense,
remember what
modern
we said
loneliness.
about what kind of brings them close together is that they share experiences. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
what Tom went through wouldn't compare in any way to what she
Yes.
went. She went through a lot. I mean, losing family members and even kids.
Mm-hmm.
But Tom, I mean, it was only this separation from his brother. But again, they have this feeling of loneliness, and it was only mitigated and alleviated when they met and they started to play together. Yes, they have shared.
Honestly,
Yes, go ahead.
yes. No, no, no. I apologize for interrupting. Go ahead.
That's fine. That's fine. I wanted to say that they shared a lot. Mm. Yeah, go ahead,
Um, uh,
James.
uh, honestly, it is kind of controversial of me to say that. Yeah, astaghfirullah, that's not what I meant. But for some reason, when you said that, I felt like it's okay to say that he didn't suffer enough as she did. So it's unfair of us to compare between, both
Mm.
experiences, as
Remember
you just
what
said.
at one point I said, you don't have to go through people's painful
Hmm.
experiences to feel them,
Yes,
right?
I understand, but the thing
Mhm,
is, it is not comparable, and they are
mm,
both
mm,
connecting, or let's
mm,
say interconnecting in a way through
mm,
the magical realm, the garden.
mm,
But then again, is the compare and the comparing and contrasting here fair? Is what I'm
mm.
trying to say.
It depends on why and how you compare, obviously. So I
Oh,
was,
that's fair.
uh, yeah, and again, you need to read the novel also
Hmm.
through perhaps a male prism or perspective. Remember, this is children's literature, and children's literature has always been, male. I mean, it addresses male mainstream
Hmm.
audience, and it caters to their needs. And obviously, one of their needs would be that you always have a hero, not a heroine, except for very few occasions here and there down through the ages.
Hmm.
So you have somebody suffering, and the other is kind of getting lessons from those kinds of suffering episodes and learning a lesson or two. So
Hmm.
again, in spite of the fact uh, that the author is trying as much as possible to stay away from, falling into the trap of,
Hmm.
presenting things from one side, but still you have this um, bias towards men and against women. Again, because it's a mindset, even if the author is a woman. See,
But the thing
uh,
is,
mm,
the only if I were to find a similarity between Hattie and Tom in that context, the Victorian context, or the fact that it was written in the 1950s, is because I believe it was the post-war in
mm,
what is it, in Britain, and many families had experienced evacuation and separation and loss,
mm.
um, which is the similarity between both of them, because they both experienced something similar, at least with the separation with Tom and his family. And what is it? Um,
Well,
it is mirroring of, as I said, it mirrors Tom's like his, let's say, let's call the word exile from home, even if it
uh,
was temporary, but it was there.
it reminds me just now. It reminds me of this idea that when you see, you feel that you're suffering, that you're singled out for misfortune. This is only if you're thinking of yourself and what happens to you. But when you see other people's calamities and diseases and disasters, you start to realize that your suffering is nothing. If you, for example, if you're at one point hit with that disease, yeah, a minor one, and then you go to the hospital and see people who have contracted perhaps
Yes, I agree.
a terminal disease, and obviously you feel that you're much better off. So again, we're stressing the fact that what bound them together, what brought them together was this idea of loneliness and separation, and every one of them has his own reasons. I mean, she comes with this whole package of calamities and personal crises in her life, and he comes with his own, or what he perceives as problems and issues. The end result would be that he is going to be hardened by her experiences when he listened to what she had to say about those sad stories, and he comes out of them different, more open to life and to reality. He starts to kind of reconsider the way he looks at things and at life and everything. Okay, Hen, thank you so much. Again,
You're
that
welcome.
was interesting. Answering this question, obviously, because it took us to areas, intriguing areas that people can agree or differ on. So, again, if we talk about the Victorian age and why of all the other ages and time periods, Philippa Pierce chose this one, there is going to be this talk about, by the way, it was like 2 or 3 generations away from the post-war era. Remember that the Victorian age is perceived by the British as, or the English as, one of the most glorious periods of their history, the British Empire, Queen Victoria living for more than 50 or 60 years, and that during her time there was prosperity, there was literacy and education. They went beyond their limited islands and isles. They went all the way to India. They went all the way to the Caribbean and North American and everything. Again, the Victorian age was also very known for its values and values that lots of people that down through the ages used to cherish. They were kind of conservative. There were, guidelines that would rule everything people do. So obviously, following the Second World War, the English were living a time of fluidity. Remember, this also was the time when postmodernism started, and postmodernism came obviously to answer questions that were left unresolved and unanswered. So it was on a different on different levels. It was a period of fluidity, of security, um, lack of understanding, grappling with big picture questions and issues. So let's move on. Is Tom a dynamic character in the novel, and how does he change? What do you think? Remember, when we talk about characters in novels, we normally divide them into either static or dynamic characters. Dynamic characters are those characters who have a capacity for change. They change over time, and this change does not happen automatically. They have to be hardened by life lessons and life experiences, so that when you meet them at the end, they are totally different from the when you meet them at the beginning. Static characters never change. They are types. They represent one single quality, and they never change. Let me make it easier for you by saying that Uncle Tom is a static character who does not have a capacity for change. He stays from start to finish this old generation guy who staunchly believes in what he says. His ideas are all very linear. His ideas are all very conservative. So he is not ready to negotiate. He is not ready to change. But this is an example of a static character. Let's think of Tom. What do you think? Is he dynamic, and how and why? Mm. Tom, everyone, dynamic or static? Yeah. Is it, I mean, Hind is, mashallah, today is, she used to keep a low, very, a very low profile. This time around, she's on top of things, which is something that I like, of course. But can we have other people? Then, obviously, the question is very straightforward and very easy. We're talking about Tom, and we're checking whether he is dynamic or static, and why. طيب, what we let me suggest something. We're going to take a 5 minute break. Let's make 10. Let's make it. Let's be more realistic and make it 10. Let's meet in 10 minutes where you can think of the question and the other questions. So when we meet again in 10 minutes, we'll tackle the rest of the questions. So I'll see you in 10 minutes, John. Okay?
Sure, Doctor.
Yeah, in 10 minutes. Okay, we're back. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. Can we alert our colleagues, I mean other colleagues, on the WhatsApp group that we're here? Okay. If you're here, please raise your hands. Those who are here, give me a signal that you guys are here after the break. طيب ممتاز. طيب before I proceed, if you guys have any questions, we can have up to 5 minutes for questions before I go back to what I was asking about. And are you raising your hand? Is it Reem? Reem, come to the mic and share with us.
No,
Because you're
Doctor,
yeah.
this was for attendance.
Okay, ولا يهمك يا عم يا ريم. Okay.
Doctor,
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
I was honestly going to ask about the MTA thingy, but I think if it was, يعني if you wanted to postpone that for some other time.
I think I
Up to
promised
you.
you to kind of give you feedback on Thursday, but I never did because I was at home at the time, right? I was giving the class from I didn't have the script. It's not that I don't fulfill my promises. It's only that I was stuck. I had to give the class from home.
It's okay, Doctor.
Again, what yeah, we will have time in which I show you. I wouldn't call them errors or mistakes because we're past it. And mashallah, you scored 25 something, which means that you have very small, kind of loose ends that you need to tighten, and you are on your way towards achieving more. Again, if I am to talk to everyone about our expectations as a team of tutors who teach EA300B, things that you should avoid. You have gone through the experience of the MTA, and my colleagues and I are agreed on a number of things when it comes to what we have seen in the MTA, things that we don't want to see repeated in the second quiz. Again, one very major challenge would be the idea of irrelevance. Irrelevance does not mean that we ask you to write on Tom's Midnight Garden and you write about the tale of Peter Rabbit. No, it's not. It's not that extreme. Irrelevance here means that when we ask you a targeted question about one aspect in a given work, you don't give us all the aspects and you believe that you did an excellent job. No, you didn't. Giving us all the answers and ask us to choose. No, you shouldn't be testing us, right? If I ask you about one single issue or aspect in a work, you address this aspect. If you address the other aspects too, this does not make you relevant. This does not make it a good answer. Okay, so relevance is very important. It's not about writing too much as it is not about writing too little. It's about writing uh, um, smartly, if you like. It's about writing comprehensively, which means that you need to be comprehensive in your answer. You address all the aspects of the question, not all the aspects of the book. There is obviously a difference, right? So this is what we have seen repeated, that people write everything and they leave it to the teacher to kind of perhaps assess and value the fact that they exerted too much effort writing everything. No, you shouldn't be writing everything. You should only write whatever is relevant and whatever is to the point. This has to be made very clear. So comprehensiveness is very important. Uh, um, being relevant is very important. Being very clear. So clarity is also very important. Okay, you don't contradict yourself. You don't say something in a paragraph and then you come in the next paragraph and you say something that is that wouldn't add up, if you like. So you need to, when you finish, this is actually what we refer to as coherence. You have your essay, because you're going to write an essay in quiz 2, your essay has to be coherent. And coherence means that it has to flow. And it has to flow means that you shouldn't be contradicting yourself. You should be clear. You should be relevant. Okay, so if you think of these things, if you set out to implement them, you are on your way towards achieving a high mark. So put them in mind, experiment, try to write something and then put a rubric to yourself. Say, yeah, is it clear enough? Do I understand what I wrote or not? Is it comprehensive? Does it cover all the aspects of the question? Is it relevant, or am I talking about anything and everything, as long as it is about Tom's Midnight Garden? No, it doesn't go this way. So perhaps this is the trap that lots of people fall into, whether those people are excellent or otherwise. It takes time. You know, overcoming this can take time, especially when it comes to being relevant or irrelevant, assessing how relevant you are, and being comprehensive or not. I mean, it's a mindset. People have this mindset that the only way to impress the teacher would be to write too much, to write everything I know. I don't know. No, this is not the way to go. You are graduating students. You've been with us for quite some time. You know what we need and what we ask for and what we have, what we hope for. What we hope for, what we're hoping for is to see uh, a script that reflects the fact that you're a graduating student. So what's the difference then between you, finishing off and somebody who is in his or in her formative years and in the first year, for example? If you cannot be clear, if you cannot be relevant, if you cannot be comprehensive, right? So keep those things in mind. Clarity, comprehensiveness, and relevance. Any other questions about the second quiz? That's fine. I can answer. Again, if I have to choose between writing too little and writing too much, of course, writing um, intelligibly is, of course, very important. We're expecting not less than 200 words. We're expecting you to elaborate on the ideas. We're expecting you to provide vivid examples from Tom's Midnight Garden. What else? I'm not going to talk about organization. I'm not going to talk about handwriting. Handwriting can also leave the right impression or the lack thereof. Uh, we know that you are under extreme exam conditions and sometimes you feel stressed out. That's why you don't have much control over your handwriting, but at least try to be organized, and things will go inshallah well. Anything else about the second quiz? Um, Needless to say that you will have to come to your branch and do the exam here in your branch, of course, and it's going to be an hour-long exam. Writing, you're going to need a pen. Be ready with a pen. And this is basically what it is about. It's about Tom's Midnight Garden, of course. Again, human connections and Hattie and its role and her transformative role are very important. Um, Tom also, the novel as a novel of education that would involve a character who changes, and changing does not happen overnight. And there are, of course, contributing factors to this kind of change. Look at the trajectory of the character, where he was and where he is now and where he is headed. These are questions that you need to ask yourself. So let's go back to the questions. We spoke about Tom and whether he is a dynamic character or not. And of course, the answer is yes, he is dynamic. And it's always good to, whenever you define something and you talk about something, you set it against something else. And this something else that we're talking about is the character of Tom's uncle. And obviously, his uncle is the total opposite. He doesn't show any signs of change. He is so adamant. He is so set in his old beliefs and ways and ideas. While Tom is ready to embrace change, he changed at the end and he changed beyond recognition. He is not the Tom that we are used to. He is not the Tom that we have seen at the beginning of the. He's totally changed, and change means that he is now more mature than ever. He is more open to the realities of life than ever before. He is ready to face life and reality head on. He is ready to accept the linearity of life. He is ready to accept whatever is inevitable, and whatever is inevitable is obviously a reference to death. Everything comes to an end, and human beings are part of this large scheme of things. So these are the things that Tom learned. Again, how did he learn them? Through his encounter with Hattie. Hattie introduced him to the sad realities of life. She shared with him her traumatic experiences losing family and loved ones. And when he saw those things, when he felt so deep, and he started to kind of reassess how he looks out at life and what life means and everything. So, what is the nature of Tom and Hattie's relationship? So, what kind of relationship would you perceive? I'm talking about Tom and Hattie, of course. What do you think?
Um,
Yeah, can
I
let's listen to what I mean. I'll give other people the chance too. So of course we have Munira and Hind, but I would like other people to come in and share with us.
sure, I don't mind it. Doctor, do you want me to answer first, or do you want me
No,
to wait?
now wait your hand so that we can have other people process the question. Again, we're talking about the relationship that binds Tom to what? To Hattie. What kind of relationship? Let me help you by perhaps providing prompts. Is it a relationship of equals? Is it a relationship where we have somebody learning from somebody else? Is it a relationship? Um, are they perhaps in love, or what? Let's talk about it.
Doctor, I apologize for interrupting, but Joyce said she cannot unmute, so she wrote something for you on chat.
You mean I am muting her, or what?
No, no, I think she
Mm.
has an issue, but
Oh,
she has written the answer on chat.
mm,
Her
okay,
answer.
nice. Okay,
Okay,
so
doctor.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
I think the relationship between them, the fantasy and the dreaming, yeah, in the
yeah.
garden.
Nashi, can you elaborate on that? What do you mean? Yes. Yeah. What's your name?
Uh, Tom and Hadi, their fantasy in the garden.
Nashi. Yeah, and this is what. And what we're
The
talking about
relationship
is a
between
place.
them.
This is a place that they meet in. So where is the relation? Is it? Are you trying to say that they were friends and they meet there, or they?
Oh my God, so-
Okay. طيب.
no, actually, I don't know the answer, the right answer.
There is no right or wrong answer, like we said, because this is literature. But obviously, if you say something, you need to expand on the idea and explain it and provide examples. So there is no right or wrong answer. All the answers are right, if you like. طيب, let's have Munira and then go to Hind and then read what Joyce has just written. Yeah, Munira.
Yes, they are playmates. They are
Mm,
playing together, exploring the garden, doing some activities together, like building a tree house and skating.
okay.
This is what makes the bond within them because they
So
are exploring
obviously,
freely.
when we talk about the relationship, saying that they are playmates, and we're targeting the underlying significance of that. So if you say that it's a relationship of perhaps companionship or friendship, that wouldn't be enough. You need to talk about the impact of this kind of relationship on both of them, and whether somebody was more more it was perhaps more useful to someone than the other, or what. So you need to engage with the question. You need to provide examples, and everything in between. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
طيب.
he
Thank you,
gets to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, he learned from the experience because he see all the stage of Hatti's life, and
Mm,
he connect with her through sympathy because he
mm,
see how her aunt, cruel aunt, treating her, and the cousins, Then she gets after that, along with the story, after he know that she's Miss Bartolio, she know
Mm.
that she's a widow. She loves her children.
Nice. Okay. Right. Thank you, Munira. Hind?
Honestly, Doctor, because you said that, um, يعني you gave some interpretations, whether it was a romantic, platonic, normal kind of
Mm.
relationship.
Mm.
To me, from the very beginning till now, I feel like it's like a symbolic relationship, um, or let's say a friendship. I will call it a friendship,
Mm.
but a friendship that is rooted in loneliness. Oh, rooted in loneliness. Because both Tom and Hattie are um like emotionally isolated.
Okay.
Um, and Tom due to quarantine, and um, Hattie, on the other hand, due to being orphaned and mistreated by her relatives,
Okay.
and they share that bond. Uh, you know, they share the loneliness, which later on created a strong emotional connection between both of them,
Okay.
and made the garden, the midnight garden, like a sanctuary where they can see, not see, but can be themselves. And when I say symbolic relationship, because that's my initial answer, um, because the fact that both of them went through hardships made their bond, um, like symbolize the power
Even stronger.
of emotional truth. What is it?
Mm-hmm. Even stronger, you mean?
Yes,
I
it's made
mean, on
them.
the bond. Mm.
It's also made Tom mature a lot and
Mm.
grow in different aspects. Even though their friendship happened in a like a magical realm, or in a dreamlike space,
Mm.
but
Mm.
it's its emotional reality itself
Mm.
is in yani, is very clear and apparent there, and very
Nice.
intriguing as well. And it's also
So,
Tim. I'm not sure if this theme has been discussed before, honestly, but this relationship, our friendship between both Hattie and Tom, it reflects the theme of growing up and letting go, which is
mm,
also an essential part of Tom's maturing throughout the story.
yeah.
This is my take,
Um, yeah, I mean,
but I'm
it's
not sure if you
that
are.
it has
Uh,
like a hint of or a tinge of stoicism to it, where
hmm,
obviously, I mean, there are things in life that you cannot control. So why bother about them? So
hmm,
if, for example, life is linear and there is nothing you can do about it, so why bother about it? Because you're not going to change its linearity. If death is a fact that we cannot avoid or evade, why bother about it? And these are issues that Tom was thinking of, that Tom and his generation were thinking of, right? So obviously the message here is, I mean, let it go, like let it pass. If you cannot, if you are not in control of something, there is no need to kind of you know worry about it and stress out and all those kinds of things. So this is, yeah, this is true, and these are things that Tom learned from the experience with Hattie. This is something that the relationship between them brought about the idea that you have to accept um, an otherwise sad reality that you cannot escape or evade. So, yeah, this is it's a relationship of companionship. It's a relationship of consolation where you need somebody else. You need to have a shoulder to cry on. And obviously, don't stop there. It's not about crying. So, uh, uh, um, crying is not the end of things. I mean, he moved beyond crying and started to learn lessons about life and its linearity and the fact that there is no way people can go back or stay where they are.
So,
Obviously,
Doctor,
people, yeah, go ahead.
no, again, I apologize for interrupting. You can keep going first.
انت قطعتيني خلاص. آه،
Oh, because I thought when you stopped, when I tried to speak, I think my voice, I'm not sure if it was came late or like if you heard me after you
You're
spoke.
you're
I just
using a
wanted
lot
to
of
say that.
hedges. I mean, you use a lot of
Oh,
hedges and a lot of. But you need to remove this from your speech. I know your speech is very beautiful. You speak excellent English. You're a very excellent conversationalist, but you use lots of hedges. And of course, you know what hedges are. To
yes.
make statements without being apologetic about them, without putting up disclaimers before. They just say what you have to say. We agree على الله. Um,
شكراً دكتور. بس أنا
yeah.
my only question was it is because you said it is يعني depending on the answer of how we perceive both the relationships.
Mm,
But يعني our part is to at least um, highlight or explain or elaborate uh, what kind of relationship or friendship it is. So it doesn't matter whether it was symbolic or platonic or romantic,
mm.
as long as we يعني put the reasons or
No, yes,
justify.
it's well establishing what kind of relationship it is and the
Mhm,
significance and the impact of this relationship on both of them or one of them, and
mhm.
whether this I mean whether there is a consequence to this relationship, and whether this consequence is intended or unintended consequence. So obviously, when we talk about them, this was a very much intended consequence. The writer wanted us through Tom to learn to come to terms with life and with reality and to accept life as it is, to be stoic about lots of the realities of life because we're not likely to change them. We cannot change them as a matter of fact. See? So these are the intended consequences, if you like. Again, this is all inspired by the bond that the two have. And I mean, Hattie and Tom. Hmm. Clear?
Inshallah, everything
Hmm.
is good. At
Good.
first, when you talked about uh, uh, the part where you said that we cannot escape reality, for some reason, this is just a very random thought that came to mind. But at first, I thought the novel was approaching like a nihilism kind of approach, but then I realized that no, it's not that complex, and I'm just complicating it to myself.
No, no,
But
it
it's
didn't go. It
understandable.
didn't go that to that extreme. Actually,
Yes.
it was kind of some kind of antidote or a cure for this kind of nihilism that we felt in the voice and then the action of Tom at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So having Hattie as a playmate, having Hattie giving us her traumatic experiences was meant to kind of tell us that obviously what has been happening to Tom is nothing. There are other, even sadder realities out there. And then the people, like I said, uh, um,
Other
uh,
absurdities.
uh, yeah, and of course, I mean, the real lesson here is that you're not singled out for misfortune, and other people can have even worse misfortunes than yourself. Again, people need to be, and this is perhaps is the message, be positive even about those sad realities and negative experiences. They need to come out of them perhaps stronger. And we always have this cliche that whatever does not kill you makes you stronger, right? It's actually it's a cliche, and when you think about it, it's yeah, it's correct. I mean, if you have to go through a bad experience and you come out of it one piece, obviously you're not unscathed. There is a lot of scars and there are lots of emotional scars and everything, but at least you came out of it one piece. So that would help you perhaps rethink the way you do stuff. Consider what actions you use to take in those same circumstances and under those same conditions. So this is obviously the message. So the bond is there, and it's not. Uh, I mean, the novel is not as much about the bond as it is about the consequences of this bond. What comes out of this relationship. I mean, think of it in any way you like, but obviously the result and the outcome is the same. The Tom of the beginning is not the Tom of the ending, right?
Yes.
What time is it? Yeah, still have time. So, what is the significance of the ending of Tom's Midnight God? Let's first of all establish how the novel ended, and then talk about the significance of this kind of ending, and whether critics are agreed on this kind of ending or polarized or what. So, how the novel ended. Those who read the novel tell us how it ended. Yeah, Munira.
Yes, because the last night Tom went down to look for the garden. Uh,
Okay.
and he wanted to say goodbye for Hattie. Then he discovered he couldn't find the garden. Then at
Mhm.
the midnight he starts shouting the name of Hattie. Then he wake up his auntie and uncle. Then they think he may be asleep walking.
Mhm.
Then the next day, Miss Bartholomew, she summoned for Tom to make apologize. Then he went to her house and asked apologize. Then in this time she revealed that she was happy and Tom was calling her name.
Yeah. Okay. So again, um, this is actually what happened. But obviously, there is more to these things than just what happened. Now we move to another level, the abstract level, where we talk about the significance of this. Did it seem to you that he is now realizing that 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 Hattie is not uh, uh, who he thinks she was, and perhaps he has to let go and realize that she was a ghost. She was meant to play a role, and it came to an end. And Hattie is none other than Mrs. Bartholomew. Did he? Does he seem, um, you know, approving and accepting of that? What do you think?
I think he accept that doctor because they
Mm.
hug in the end.
Mhm. Yeah. So this is all kind of pointing to the fact that he has changed. He doesn't deal with things. Look at how he reacted when he was first removed from his brother and taken to another house, and now how he is reacting. Obviously, he is more super. He doesn't react aggressively. He doesn't think that there is a conspiracy against him. He is more stoic than ever, accepting what he cannot control. One big takeaway from the novel: you have to accept what you cannot control, um, what you cannot change. There is no way, or there is obviously no need to kind of whimper over and whine over and stress out about what you cannot change. Yeah, that's interesting. Any other interpretations of the ending? Hmm. Okay, طيب. I think we'll stop on this note and with this item. But before we go, again, I would like you to try this very interesting um, application and note taking and note making technique that I have shared with you at the beginning of the class this morning. And I would like you to take one of my videos. I think they are all over the place. You know where to find them. I would like you to take the video and put it in the application. And I would like you um, to kind of retrieve notes from the video and also a podcast. And listen to the podcast and see. By the way, I have so many recordings on Tom's Midnight Garden on the channel Happy Learning. Go there and use them. Listen to them if you would like to kind of have more, or you can take the video and put it in this Google application and come up with a decent podcast that would last for 5, 10, or 15 minutes. Again, you can make a mind map of all the videos. This can also be very useful. Questions that you can generate is also something that you can avail yourself from or with. Still have 5 minutes for questions. Come to the mic and ask me before we call it a day.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you
Yeah,
for everything.
you're welcome, Noor. Yeah, Noor. Hi, I wish you all the best, and I'm sure you're going to ace the second quiz and make us all proud. Again, it's an hour kind of exam, and you need to think. An hour is long and big. You need to think before you write. You need to be organized. Remember these three things that I always talk about: clarity, relevance, and comprehensiveness. You have to keep these three things in mind while answering. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you, inshallah, on Thursday during the master class at 9 a.m. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.
Doctor,
Now,
I asked you in chat
what did you say?
makeup quiz. About makeup quiz
For what?
for tomorrow. There is makeup quiz.
No, you have to come tomorrow. Tomorrow is what? Tomorrow is it on Tuesday? The exam is on Tuesday. So what's the difference if the makeup, for example, is on Wednesday or Thursday? What's the difference?
Yeah, I contact you in email.
Me?
You can answer me. Yeah.
No, it's something that which branch do you belong to? أنت من أي فرع؟
رياض.
طيب ايه عذرك يعني why let me stop the recording.
أيوة.
wait
أيوة عندي إشكالية.